Hello and welcome. This is Notibot ENG. I'm your anchor, Name. In today's news recap, tensions escalate in the Middle East as U.S. President Donald Trump engages with Iran over its red lines in a potential war. Meanwhile, top diplomats from Tehran and Moscow meet to discuss crucial regional issues. We'll delve into these developments and more, providing you with the latest updates on the Iran-U.S. conflict, and explore how Germany is assessing the U.S. strategy in the region. Let's get started with our news recap. With tensions simmering in the Middle East, U.S. President Donald Trump is said to be closely monitoring Iran's red lines ahead of a high-stakes diplomatic meeting. The diplomatic situation in the Middle East has taken a significant turn as Iran's top diplomat engaged with Russia's Putin in an effort to ease tensions. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump convened his senior national security team to evaluate a fresh Iranian peace proposal delivered via Pakistan. According to reports, the Pakistani government outlined terms for Iran in exchange for lifting its nuclear work and ending the war in the region. The proposal also calls for reopening the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow shipping lane that has been closed off by the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports. While details of the proposal remain scarce, it is clear that this diplomatic surge comes at a critical juncture. The situation has been volatile for months, with rising tensions between the U.S. and Iran leading to a series of military incidents in the region. Russian President Vladimir Putin's engagement with Iran's top diplomat signals a potential shift in Moscow's stance on the crisis. However, some critics have questioned the sincerity of this overture, pointing out that Russia's position remains largely unchanged. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has criticized Iran's offer in an interview with Trump-friendly Fox News, further complicating the situation. Meanwhile, White House spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt has hinted that President Trump's views on the proposal remain unclear, stating only that his red lines have been made very, very clear. With tensions still simmering, it remains to be seen how this diplomatic push will play out and what consequences it may have for regional stability. As concerns about Iran's supreme leader grow, a new development has further muddied the waters surrounding Mojtaba Khamenei's mysterious health situation. Iran has unveiled a new mural in Tehran's Azadi Square, depicting Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei as a martyr. The monument was erected after Mojtaba Khamenei, the Supreme Leader's son and a senior cleric, was killed in a car accident on January 5th. The Iranian authorities have described Mojtaba Khamenei's death as a martyrdom and have blamed it on a terrorist operation. The mural's unveiling has sparked concerns among human rights activists and Western governments, who view the event as an attempt to promote the Supreme Leader's cult of personality. In 2017, Mojtaba Khamenei was involved in the suppression of anti-government protests in Iran, where hundreds of people were killed. Iran's President Ebrahim Raisi has paid tribute to Mojtaba Khamenei, praising his son's martyrdom and vowing to bring those responsible for his death to justice. However, many Iranians have expressed sadness and disappointment at the government's handling of the situation, with some even calling for greater transparency about the circumstances surrounding Mojtaba Khamenei's death. The incident has also raised concerns about the growing power dynamics within Iran's theocratic system. Mojtaba Khamenei was a key figure in the country's nuclear program and had been instrumental in shaping the government's foreign policy agenda. His death has left a void that could be filled by other hardline clerics, potentially altering the balance of power within the Iranian leadership. As tensions between Iran and the U.S. continue to escalate, President Donald Trump is set to discuss a surprise peace proposal from Tehran with key officials. The situation in the Persian Gulf has taken a new turn with Iran's latest peace proposal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S., under the Trump administration, remains non-committal on the offer, which would see nuclear negotiations postponed for later stages. In a recent meeting at the German parliament, Chancellor Friedrich Merz criticized the Trump administration's handling of the conflict, stating that an entire nation is being humiliated by Iran. He questioned the U.S. exit strategy from the war, suggesting that the Iranians are negotiating very skillfully and appear to be clearly stronger than one thought. The proposal, which was first reported in Axios, involves Iranian assurances that they will not use their military capabilities against the U.S. or its allies. However, key issues such as Iran's nuclear program remain unresolved. Pakistani mediators had previously attempted to facilitate a peace agreement between Washington and Tehran, but failed to make progress. The Trump administration is set to discuss next steps on Monday in a Situation Room meeting with President Trump. Meanwhile, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has arrived in Russia for talks with Vladimir Putin, the Russian president. During their meetings, Putin expressed his hope that the Iranian people would weather what he described as a difficult period, and that peace would soon prevail. Russia's involvement in mediating the conflict highlights its desire to maintain stability in the Middle East. However, it remains to be seen whether these efforts will lead to any tangible progress in resolving the crisis. The U.S. and Iran have been locked in a bitter standoff since 2019, with tensions escalating in recent weeks over issues such as the Strait of Hormuz and ballistic missile strikes on Saudi Arabia. As tensions between Washington and Tehran escalate, a prominent German diplomat has shared his candid assessment on the U.S.'s approach to resolving the Iran conflict. Germany's Chancellor Friedrich Merz has criticized the U.S. for lacking an exit strategy in its war against Iran, citing concerns over the conflict's duration and economic impact on his country. According to Merz, the problem with conflicts like this is that it's not just about entering a war, but also getting out of it. Merz's comments come after 20 years of U.S. involvement in Afghanistan and Iraq, where the consequences of prolonged wars were starkly evident. He believes the U.S. entered the Iran conflict without a clear strategy, making it more challenging to end the conflict now. The chancellor also praised the Iranians' negotiating skills, saying they are very skilled at not negotiating. This has led to an entire nation being humiliated by the Iranian leadership. The economic impact of the war is another pressing concern for Merz. He warned that the U.S.-Iran conflict has deeply affected Germany's economic performance, leading his government to slash its growth forecast for this year and next. The conservative-led coalition now expects the economy to grow only 0.5% in 2026, down from a prior estimate of 1%. For 2027, the forecast is lowered to 0.9%, compared to 1.3% previously. Germany's stance on the Iran conflict is significant, given its economic ties with Europe and its influence as an economic powerhouse. The situation highlights the growing tensions between the U.S. and Iran, which have sparked international concern over regional stability. Following a major diplomatic shift, Iran is now putting its proposed energy deal with the U.S. on the table without preconditioned nuclear negotiations. Iran has presented a proposal to regional and global players in an effort to secure broader buy-in for its plan to reopen the Strait of Hormuz without engaging in direct nuclear talks with the U.S. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi met with Russian President Vladimir Putin in St. Petersburg after visiting Islamabad twice in 2 days and a meeting in Muscat, Oman. The Muscat talks brought together senior intelligence officials from several countries, including Iran, Russia, and Pakistan. The discussions focused on the Strait of Hormuz, regional security guarantees, and a potential settlement framework, with nuclear-related issues set aside for later. Iran has submitted its proposal to Pakistan, which is transmitting messages between Tehran and Washington after direct talks in Islamabad failed to deliver a breakthrough. The U.S. has not confirmed the contents of the Iranian proposal, but White House spokeswoman Olivia Wales stated that the U.S. will not negotiate through the press and would only make a deal that puts the American people first. The situation is unfolding against a tight deadline. Under the 1973 War Powers Resolution, President Trump faces a May 1st deadline to obtain congressional approval for military action. The proposal has sparked debate in Washington, with some calling for a more aggressive response to Iran's actions in the region. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump has said that Iran already knows what is required to resolve tensions, preventing it from developing nuclear capabilities. It remains unclear whether Trump will accept the Iranian proposal and engage in indirect talks or take a harder line against Tehran. That's all for today's news recap. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to stay up to date on the latest developments from around the world, be sure to subscribe to our channel and follow us on social media. We'll keep bringing you in-depth analysis and expert insights as the situation continues to unfold. Until next time, good night and goodbye.